Hi Janine! Just going to go over a few concepts with you today. One is Oso's e-collar. I do have his e-collar paired up to a speaker box, so you'll hear that noise. That means I'm using his e-collar. The reason why I have that is because my e-collar is very hard to see with the human eye. I do not correct them. What I'm doing is I'm conditioning communication with them through leash and e-collar pressure. So let me break that down into a couple steps for you, so you can understand exactly what I'm doing. So when I was going over drives with you, I was teaching you how to switch them, right? I was kind of explaining how when I see a dog go into prey drive, I'll change directions or back up and change the dog's direction so that when he's heading back towards me, that builds up his pack drive. Let's go. So how I'm doing that, like right here, in order to get a good recall, I'm going to add leash pressure. So I'm going to say, add leash pressure, and also come over the top of that leash pressure. Good. Sit. Good. Let's go. So I layer Oso come over the leash pressure, right? Same with a sit. Hi. So if I go sit, good. Let's go. If I wanted to put him on place, I'd put leash pressure on him. Oso, place, good. Sit, good. Let's go. See if I can get another recall here with just the leash. Right? Oso, come. Good. I don't know if you can see that. I might have been blocking it. But everything I do is pressure release. Everything I teach dogs is pressure release. So there's going to be a variety of pressure release tactics that we can use. There's tons of different forms we can create pressure with a dog. Dogs understand pressure release. It's their language. It's how dogs and all animals communicate with each other, right? So what I mean by that is if you ever seen a cat sit there in one spot and a dog approaches and the cat tells the dog get away and the dog runs away, you know, we see the physical things, we don't hear the mental conversation. But what that dog or what the cat is doing is putting psychological pressure on the dog, and his intention is I'm gonna snap at you if you get any closer, and the dog's like, oh, and they remove themselves, right? Come. So animals can cross communicate with pressure. Sit. Good. I don't know if you saw that, but that was a leash pressure. Good job, Oso. Let's go. And basically every single command I'm teaching him, even if he's already been taught, is I'm adding leash pressure to it. So I'm doing sit, oh, sit, sit, let's go. And then I add pressure, place, sit, come, good. Here, let's go. So everything I do, every word I command the dog to do, come, has leash pressure layered over the top. Good boy. And if you think about it, I'm creating two different forms of information, right? So they're pairing with one another, but I'm empowering my voice. Let's go. Because the leash pressure communicates with the dog to perform those tasks. Now the way I hold my leash is going to determine what the dog does. So I'm obviously not going to do this. Sit. Hey. Oh, you're gonna down for me? God, you're awesome. You're awesome. You're a good boy. So if I want the dog to sit, I'm gonna pull up on the leash. Good. Yes. Because the butt's gonna go back from the pressure pulling the head up. If I want him to go on place, if I wanted the dog to go on place, I'm not gonna go like this. Right? I'm gonna place. Good. Very good. Let's go. So the same thing with the recall. I'm gonna angle my leash, but I don't want it down the spine because that's gonna get the dog to pull, right? So I kind of want it, one of the packets I'm gonna give you is actually gonna give you a clock, and the dog is at a 6 o'clock, and the leash is at a 5 or a 4 o'clock, or 7. apparently I don't know a clock. 5 or a 7 o'clock, right? So it's like a 30-degree angle, 35-degree angle. Hi. And what that does is that turns the dog's brain towards me. Let's go. So I'm explaining this to you in part because you have a puppy and it helps to understand pressure release with a new pup. When Oso comes home, you're not going to have to understand pressure release on a leash as much, maybe a little bit, but he's going to be e-collar trained. Good. Good job. So we get to eliminate the leash and still get all this lovely responsiveness that we're getting today. So I'm just going to add one more layer of information to this equation and layer in my e-collar stim. So every time the leash becomes taut and I give him a command, he's also going to feel electronic stimulation. Come. Hey. Come. Sit. Good. Let's go. So every single time, let's go. Oh, so come. Sit. Good. Let's go. Wait. Sit. See, every single time I add leash pressure and my command, the e-collar is over the top of it. And you can tell he can't, you wouldn't be able to see it with the human eye, right? I'm not shocking him. This is not, the e-collar work we do is directional. It is designed to consistently communicate with your dog exactly what you want. It always feels the same every single time. So the clarity of information is insane. It's absolutely my favorite tool. It gets the best results. And that is because it's so consistent. And it doesn't have to be punitive. In 99% of the situations that you're in, you're going to find that all you have to do is feather-like communication that most people won't even understand you're using to get the dog to go, I know exactly what you want. That's why I love this tool. So, but I kind of wanted to explain, you know, pressure release and how I go about it. I do want to say one thing about pressure release, let's go, that I forgot to mention. And that is, when I put pressure on a dog to do something, I'm not going to release the pressure until they do it. Okay? And I'm not going to add more pressure, force. I'm not going to pull, tug, yank, or otherwise create the behavior myself. The dog has to do it. Come. Come. Good. Sit. So in other words, if he were a much more stubborn dog that could, we have dogs that he can't withstand a lot of leash pressure. He's sensitive. So we have, you know, some power breeds come in here and they can barrel down at the end of this line and they can hold it forever because they're so strong and their necks are so just basically designed to take force. So they'll just sit there, and I'm not going to reel them in or force them in. You know, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to hold the angles of the line that I know are effective until the dog gets off the pressure. Come. Good boy. Yes. Good boy, buddy. So that's an important thing to note because, like for instance, with Oso, you know, when I put him on place, you know, I'm not dragging him on place with pressure. What I'm actually doing, and it's hard to see because he's so sensitive, is I'm adding leash pressure in the direction the place board is at, and then he gets on place. Place? You see? So basically the dog releases the pressure. I put the pressure on, the dog releases it. And when they're releasing it, they're going to be headed in the direction where the information was provided. So obviously, it's very obvious where I want him to go with that pressure in that example. So the dog is going to go that direction. If the dog decides that they don't want to fully commit to that, like maybe blowing off a recall halfway, then I'm going to reapply the pressure until I get the dog to start committing again. Good choice. Now, the same thing goes with the e-collar, right? So the e-collar is actually an electronic leash, if you think about it that way. So if I have a dog that's going to show me resistance in a command, especially like a recall, any command, it doesn't matter what it is, but in your case it might end up being recall, since that was the one you struggled with the most, you're going to hold the e-collar pressure down until he commits to coming. And I've got this all set up on a continuous setting, so you can hold it for up to 8 seconds. And that will basically, what that's going to look like is beep until you can see he's committed. Now from his perspective, it's going to look like this. So let's say I'm Oso and I'm looking at the warehouse and you want him to come. So you say Oso come and you tap your e-collar button once and he continues to look at the warehouse and he never looks back at you. That is improper use of the e-collar. Dogs will learn to blow you off, and they will learn that the e-collar is not as significant anymore if that's how you go about communicating with the dog. No, what needs to happen is that you, when I say Oso come, I hold it, and you're going to hold it until Oso's head does this. So I'm Oso, you're holding, and you're going to hold until you see this. And when you see this, you can let go. That's what he's been taught. Come. Good. There you go. You see how that wasn't just a tap? Very good. Let's go. It wasn't just a tap because he was sniffing something over there and he needed to feel pressure longer than a quarter of a second. When I add constant pressure like this, come. What the dog learns is, if I get off the pressure and come to her, she'll release it. That's what the dog learns. So if you just do taps no matter what, and you just get into a habit of just tap, tap, tap over every command, and there's no hold, what the dog's going to learn is, I can be selective because she doesn't hold it down long enough for me to turn off the pressure and release it. She's going to turn it off before she needs the release, so I'm just going to blow it off. What I like about holding e-collar stimulation and giving them 2, 3, 4 seconds to feel it is because your numbers will be lower. If you want to go with just a beep, this is a really, really low stimulation e-collar. It's a TENS unit, it's not a shock collar. So it can produce, the number he's on right now is a 4. And you probably will not be able to feel a 4 on your hand. Most people cannot. I can. I'm actually a 14 on my hand, on the e-collar. So these are real low numbers. And if I hold it for longer than a second and really give the dog a chance to feel it, I can keep those numbers low so I can keep it at a communication range instead of having to go up where the dog only responds to a quick burst. Now we're going to go up much higher on the e-collar. Come. Very good. Very good. Here. So that's my explanation of the e-collar. We're going to go over this, obviously. We won't have you use the e-collar on Tuesday. Come. Good. I'm not going to have you use the e-collar on Tuesday because there's going to be plenty of other things we need to focus on. I'll use the e-collar so you can hear it on the speaker, and then at the go home, I'll have you use it the whole go home. In the meantime, I'm going to make you more e-collar videos so you can hear how I use it, and by the end of this 2-week stay, I'll do an off-leash e-collar video so you can see how it becomes an electronic leash, and after I eliminate the line, here, good. I can still get, let's go, the same level of responsiveness as I'm getting right now without leash pressure being added into it. So the only other thing that I need to make clear about the e-collar is that numbers are not permanent, right? So he's a 4 right now. That doesn't mean he's always a 4. There's nothing going on right now. There's no dogs. You're not here. There's nothing exciting, right? Just a field with smells, which that does form its own excitement. He likes to explore. And he's hard, sometimes when he really wants to sniff something, his numbers can go up higher than a 4. So the e-collar is a barometer for the brain. It's going to tell you how worked up they are about it. The higher you have to go, the more intense they are about the stimulation. So it'll look the same. In other words, how you see it in this video, he's going to look the same when he sees a dog. It's not going to look like because you have to go up to a 10 or a 15 that now we're shocking him. What it represents is that the brain has loaded adrenaline in the system because the excitement of the sight of a new dog has gotten the dog now to want to run towards it and get worked up and excited about it. So as you can imagine, the dog's sense of feeling is not as in tune as it is when there's nothing going on. So we're basically going up 1, 2 numbers at a time. In his case, I go up 1 because his numbers are so slow to find a number that will peel him off the stimulus. But this is all instinctual behavior on his part, so I'm not trying to tell him, no, you're a bad dog for being curious. I'm just trying to show him exactly what I want from him when he does see those things. So again, it's a directive device, it's not corrective, and it's a barometer for the brain. It will tell you not only how he feels about certain things, like I have very strong feelings about seeing a dog on a trail. You're really going to have to go up higher on the e-collar. So it's going to tell you how they feel about stimulus, and then also it's going to tell you your progression of things. So if that dog on the trail is a 25 the first time, and the next time, and then the third time it's a 20, and the fourth time it's a 15, and before you know it, he doesn't even give a damn. Now we're making progress. The brain is starting to actually understand what it is that we want, and the dog's no longer getting worked up about those types of things. Here, good job, buddy. Let's go. So there's some more insight to my e-collar. I hope that made sense. I'm going to now, for the last piece of information of this video, tie in what I'm doing with my motions and my e-collar. So my entire focus this session has been switching drives. Come. So he's on a big smell right now. Come. Good. That was a 9. Good job, buddy. And you couldn't see it because he's in my rose bushes over here, but I just went up. And of course I can do it without looking. I can do a dial 1 at a time. So, clients have to really work their way up to being an e-collar expert. It's very hard when you're changing the number all the time. And I want to encourage you to stick with it because once you get it, it's a phenomenal tool. Come. Sit. Back to a 4 once he came back to me. But there was a good example of why I needed to keep holding it. Can I get that booger out? You're so cute. There's an example of me having to go up and hold it at the same time. So basically all I'm doing is switching drives. That's all I'm doing with this session. That's all I'm trying to get across for Oso is what drive I want him to be in. Let's go. So when he's with me like this, that's fine. But when he disengaged with me, I stopped, right? Because now he's in prey drive. See how he's sniffing the ground? So I can do one of 2 things. I could either go, let's go. There's prey drive. Someone's walking down my hill. I'm going to start practicing recall here. So I'm going up one more time on the remote. video, especially because this is day 2 of e-collar training. And that wasn't as clean off of that person as it was off of just the smell. And that's okay. We're in training and he's supposed to be making mistakes so I can train him, and I'm not worried about the delay, and I'm not worried about going up one number at a time because he's in his learning phase of training anyway. Let's go. But I had to go up to a 12 in order to get him off that person. And I spend a little bit of time at each number, you know, so that he has time to feel each number before I go up. Come. Here. But you could see that he was in pre-drive that whole time when he was staring at that person. And he didn't know where I was, right? So that's a really good example of why pre-drive is not a very beneficial state of mind for a pet to be in very often, because it's a very outward state of mind and it doesn't have anything to do with the handler. It has to do with the stimulus. So this long line activity I'm utilizing with my e-collar right now is all based on switching the drive. And what I do is if stimulation presents itself, it's a bit different than if I'm just working him in a field without it. Come. Here. Good. Good job, Oso. So if there's no stimulation, like I was saying before the trash truck came, I'm going to start walking and basically give him an opportunity to make a decision. I'm not going to try to encourage him to go out. I'm just going to wait and see what he does. Good. Come. Good. And if he disengages with me by bursting out to sniff at something or by fixating on something like you saw when you saw that person, let's go. I'm going to then do one of two things. One is that I can go, let's go. And the let's go can have a varying size of leashes. I could also go, let's go. Now what let's go means, here. Let's go means follow me, or let's go this way. Let's go. I use let's go for my release on place. Sometimes I'll use it on my release through doors. It just means like head this way. And it's not super formal, so it's not what we call here, which is here. And you probably say heel. We say here. Let's go is much more casual. It means I want you to come this way, but you don't need to be in this perfect heel. Right? So that's my let's go. Now, right there, like if I start to see, I can utilize my let's go anytime. It doesn't have to be just because they were in prey drive, right? But one of the times I focus on it the most is right now he's air scenting over there. Let's go. Now he's fixating over here. Let's go. And by moving him towards me, I get him out of that prey drive state of mind and back into the pack drive state of mind. Let's go. Now I can also do a recall. See, good job. He's still in prey drive. He's still fixating over here. See that? See those ears? Now when I do my recall, I like to get out of their line of sight. I like to actually get out of their peripheral vision so they can't see me. Good job, buddy. Tired? Hey. If I don't get any more today, you can go rewind and watch him be working him off that person in the field, which is where I actually back up out of their line of sight. Come, call him. I can do that with my let's go too, you know, that backing up thing. So my let's go and my recall does have that backward momentum, but the difference is a let's go is a casual command and a recall is a committed one. So when I say come, I want him to go here, sit, good, and commit to me. Recall should be the most committed command of any, and the most important. So, I'm basically dancing with the dog. You're with me? We're walking. You get off, I fall back. When I fall back, and the dog is fixated on something external, because I'm no longer in their line of sight, I'm encouraging them to find me. Where'd she go? She disappeared. I was really busy focused on this smell over here, and now I don't know where my owner is. Come? Oh, you gotta go. Do you have to go poop? No, you don't. Come. Something tasty's over in that rose bush. Good. Sit. Good. Let's go. So, right there. I don't know if you can see him. No, you can't. Basically, trying to really encourage that whole, oh my gosh, where did you go? I was so busy worrying about something else in the outside world. I don't know where you are anymore. So part of the reason for that motion is because I'm actually trying to get the dog to be more aware of where I'm at all times. Let's go. So as I'm continuing to walk around a field, this can be done in a driveway of your backyard, this could be done in the road, it could be done at a park, at a trailhead. Hi. But as I'm doing this, sit. Good. I'm basically just focused on giving him the line, let's go, so that he can make decisions, and then I can redirect those decisions back into pack drive. Those decisions he's making are rooted in his instincts and his desire to go smell or fixate on the outside stimulus. So by me changing directions, let's go, or getting out of his line of sight, good. I'm going to continue to keep him engaged with me instead of worrying so much about the outside world and staying in prey drive for the entire session. So this is about switching drives. This is about fine-tuning all your commands. It's about getting him to be attentive to his handler and responsive when stimulus presents itself. And sometimes that takes repetitions, like when I saw that person on the hill, he's not to a point right now where he can look at me over that person yet. He's still worried about that person. So instead of having him sit and stare at the person, I am, instead of focusing on recalling him off of the person, come. So not only can I work on my recall, here, sit. Good. Not only can I work on my recall, but I'm working on building his pack drive around stimulus like that, so that the more and more humans present themselves, the less and less he'll be so concerned about them that his fixation over them overrides his tendency to look at you. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to wrap this video up. It's a long one. Definitely went over a lot of information, but it should get you started on what long line work means, what pressure release means, and how we're using the e-collar.